welcome and Happy
Hello.
New Year. Oh, good. Shannon's recording this just to make sure if people can't come that they can
I'm not
access
hearing
it
anything.
later. John, are you back with us? Can you hear us? Oh, there's more people coming. John, are you good? Maybe not. Well, I am going to start and share my screen. Oop. Okay, can everyone see that? And I can't really see most of you, so let's see. Actually, if I move that over, it's good. Okay, great. Thanks, Darren. I think I recognize your voice. So welcome. Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. It's great to see all your smiling faces. To be perfectly honest, I was feeling pretty bleak this morning with the news and then realizing that today was the anniversary of the January 6th uprising. And I was feeling pretty powerless, and thinking about this meeting and the chance to connect with all of you was helping me remember that there are good people out there and we're all trying to do the best we can and make a positive impact in our communities. And then hopefully we can continue to do this as a result of the new MMP. So let's just see if I can get it to advance. I guess I'm gonna have to go down here. Okay. So first, I just wanted to start by thanking all of you for what you do for Vermont every day, helping all of us learn how to manage our waste more responsibly and effectively. And you might think this is not a picture of Vermont. I've never seen a beach like this with starfish. But this morning just made me think about the starfish parable. If none of you have heard that story, it goes that there's a person walking along a beach, and in the distance, they see a child who's throwing starfish into the ocean. And the person walks up to the kid and says, what's the point? There's so many starfish here. You couldn't possibly make an impact or make a difference. And there are beaches like this all over the world. And the kid kind of takes a minute, looks down, picks up another starfish and chucks it into the ocean and says, well, it makes a difference to this one. So thanks for all the impact that you're having in your own communities. It's really appreciated. So just to get started, the goals of the meeting today are to check in. We're going to have just a brief introduction of folks in a minute. And then we're going to review the requirements of the previous both old and new requirements. And it's great if you have a copy of the MMP to kind of follow along with and take notes. And then we're also going to share a slide to save the date for future trainings that are coming up. And there'll be time for Q&A. So it's really important that you all understand the requirements going into this first year of the MMP so that there are no surprises on the new reporting date, which is April 1st, not July 1st, which I think is going to be a lot better for everyone. Not as much time to forget what you actually did. And we do understand that questions are going to come up along the year, throughout the year. And so one of our promises to you is that we're always available by phone, by email, by text, by Teams meeting. There's open communication. If you have questions, please reach out. We'll do what we can to help, and we can also set up outreach visits with you, both in schools and businesses or elsewhere in your community. And just to keep going with the ocean water metaphor, a rising tide lifts all boats. So, when an area looks clean, when there's less litter, when the recycling is well sorted, people are like, oh, that's how they do it in Vermont. And it kind of helps everyone. So that's my little pitch. And so to get started, I think Alyssa is going to, oh no, since I can't really see everyone, I wanted to just start with quick introductions because I think there are probably a bunch of new people here. So I'm just going to call off folks. So maybe, because I see CSWD, can you unmute and just quickly say your name? And I guess you're all from Chittenden Solid Waste District. So your name and your SWME.
Hello, we are Chittenden Solid Waste District. I'm Joey Catania, the Compliance and Safety Manager.
Rhonda, School Outreach.
Gabby, Business Outreach. And Kat is on this call as well.
Great. So how about the Addison County group? I can see your room.
Hello, I'm Ben Eglash, Program Manager, Addison County.
Hi, I'm Emily, Public Outreach Coordinator, Addison County Solid Waste Management District.
Don Maglianti, District Manager, Addison County.
Thanks, everyone. How about Theron?
Hi, folks. I'm Theron Laysleeper. I'm the General Manager at the Central Vermont Waste District.
Great. And Pam?
I'm Pam Clapp from the Solid Waste Alliance Communities in Rutland. I'm the Administrator, Hazardous Waste Network Coordinator, Recycling Coordinator, School Outreach Coordinator, and Business Outreach Coordinator.
Great. How about Michaela?
I'm Michaela K-Switter, the Program Coordinator for Northwest Vermont Solid Waste.
Great. And I think it's Chris from NEK.
Yep, good afternoon. Chris Thompson. I'm the new director at Northeast Kingdom Waste Management District.
And John. Or John Hurd.
Hi, John Hurd, working with the Londonderry group. So I'm wearing all the hats in a tiny little group.
Right. How about, I think there's a group from Lamoille.
Yep, Lamoille Solid Waste. I'm Heather. I'm the district manager.
I'm Mel. I'm the Outreach Coordinator. Joyce Majors, Operations Administrator.
Right. And how about Terry and looks like Sharon?
Unmute us. Oh,
Terry, Central Vermont Solid Waste.
Sharon Fagard, Outreach.
Great. And how about Peter?
Sure. Hi, I'm Peter down here in scenic Windham County, and I'm a programs coordinator.
Excellent. And Mary?
Hi, Mary O'Brien. I'm recycling coordinator for the Southern Windsor-Windham County's Solid Waste Management District. I have my coat on because I'm freezing cold in my office.
Oh. And how about Benjamin?
Hi, I'm Benjamin from the hazardous waste operator at Central Vermont Solid Waste.
And Brian?
Hi, Brian Gazza, Director of Public Works for the town of Hartford and oversee the Hartford Solid Waste Recycling Center.
Great. Let's see. How about John?
Hi, John Leddy, Director of the Northwest Vermont Solid Waste District.
And Alex?
Hi, Alex Oles with Central Vermont Solid Waste.
Great. And Abby?
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm with Casella, and I manage the SWIPs for Mountain Alliance, Fairfax, Lowell, Coventry, and Newport, along with Kelly Gleason, who I don't think is able to join us today, but share all the insights with her.
Just think of that, everybody. You can have 5 SWIP reports to do instead of 1. Okay, how about Andy?
Hi, Andy Shear, Greater Upper Valley Recycling and Outreach Coordinator, and then also Business and School Outreach for Southern Windsor and Windham County Solid Waste District.
Great. And Gig?
Hi, Gig Zabori. My main title is Town of Whitingham Select Board Administrator. I oversee everything in our SWIP.
Great. And Kat? Oh, maybe she's on the phone, so.
Hi,
okay.
Kat Moody. I am from Chittenden Solid Waste District and the Community Outreach Coordinator.
Great. And I realized that I never introduced myself. So I'm Ann Bajor. I'm the materials management supervisor in the solid waste program. And so why doesn't the rest of our team introduce themselves? And I can see Alyssa.
Sure. Alyssa Eichler, one of the 3 outreachers. I work primarily with the northern part of the state. So that's Northwest, Lamoille, Northeast Kingdom, and the independent towns who are in that northern region.
Great. And how about Sarah?
Hi, Sarah. I do the electronics and mercury recycling part of our EPR programs.
And we've got Chris.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm Chris Beeling, and I work in the central part of the state. And I'm a new outreach coordinator as well.
And Shannon. Oops, Shannon's back. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon, and yep, I also do outreach. I work with like Greater Upper Valley, Hartford, and south of there. Nice to see everyone.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to share again.
So we're going to basically go through all of the SWIP requirements one by one. And I'm sort of make the unilateral decision. I think if you have questions, just please raise your hand when you have the question, because if we wait till the end, we're going to maybe be like having to hop way, way back. So I think that will probably work the smoothest. And we're going to just kind of go pretty quickly covering like what the requirements are and what we're looking for, both in implementation and in reporting. So, number one, in this version, this MMP, so the SWIP, you're only reporting disposal rate, and it's only in years 1 and year 5. So that does mean that next April, you'll be reporting a disposal rate for 2026, and then you don't have to think about it until the very end. And we have data guidance. It's already on our webpage, and we'll send out like all of links to all of these guidance documents that we're talking about today, just so you can have them at your fingertips. And so we really talk you through how to calculate disposal rate, and it's based on a calendar year. I think you can go to the next slide and diversion rates are not required. Of course, we do encourage you to pay attention to diversion. I know a lot of you put a lot of effort into calculating diversion rates, which is amazing. This fall, we don't have it scheduled yet, but I do plan on having a sort of training roundtable discussion about diversion rates. And so you can, we'll get more on that later, but I love to especially hear from those of you who do put a lot of effort into it, just share methods. You can go to the next. Okay, yeah, so here's a screenshot of the data guidance. Like I said, it really goes through probably in excruciating detail, too much really, but on how to calculate a per capita MSW disposal rate. So that's tons of MSW per person per year. Thanks, Shannon. She just put the link in the chat. And so that's total tons of MSW divided by your total population. And this document has info on how to use Retrack to calculate your MSW and how to use census.gov to get your population, but nothing new here. Carry on. So again, for the SWIP reporting, we're just looking for it for year 1 and then again in year 5. And yes, we'll be really careful this time to get rid of having this as a required field for years 2 through 4. Yeah, Theron, did you have a question?
Thanks. Quick question, probably getting into the weeds here, but we often update our demographic information using the Vermont Department of Health population estimates. What do you think about that for the SWIP? Does it matter to you which data source we use?
Does not matter. You're welcome. Well, there will be a field that you can put that in. I mean, that's interesting. I've never used Department of Health for getting population estimates. But no, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on from data to the second requirement, and so this is a new one, but hopefully it's not too arduous. Accessibility has been a hot topic lately, and for good reason, because communication is really the heart of what we do. And so there's two parts to this requirement. The first is during year one, you must attend, someone from representing your SWIMI must attend an accessible communications training. And so we are going to offer a training. It isn't 100% scheduled yet, but it will hopefully be in early March, and it will be us, but even more importantly, hopefully it will include, or really will be presented by Stephanie Bracken, who is the communications person for our whole agency. And so that's why I just need to pin her down for a date, and then hopefully we'll get that out to all of you soon. But she is really an expert on accessibility with communications and web pages. So I think it will be a really informative training. And then we'll also compile our own, or not really our own, but we'll compile resources, from the state, from other great sources. And so for years 2 through 5, that's the requirement, that someone from your team just reviews the best practices and then, yes, hopefully applies it to your web pages, to your work. We're not holding you to a particular standard. So we're not going to be like actually evaluating your web pages for accessibility. So it's more just a communications, like we're just making sure that these are tools that you're knowledgeable about, and then how you implement them is up to you. But obviously we encourage you to do it. Go to the next slide, Anne. Okay, so in terms of reporting, really what we're just looking for is in year one, list the training that was taken and who took it. And it doesn't have to be our training. If there's another training that you're aware of that you would rather do instead, that is also fine. Just let us know. And then again, in the years 2 through 5, it will just be saying, yes, the review was completed by this staff person, and we will take your word for it. You can go on unless there's any questions about accessibility. All right, Shannon.
All right, so your material management website, as you're all aware, it's currently a requirement that your your information about services that are provided, a whole host of stuff is somewhere online. So first off, when I guess for a lot of you, this would be true now, that you should already have your current SWIP that is now approved posted onto your website. And so you can go ahead and sort of remove the old one that is no longer active and just replace it with the new one. Next slide. So this is where we, the A to Z guide, as you're all aware, is currently a requirement. We just tried to sort of update the requirement to ensure that all of the entries in the A to Z guide sort of touches on all the important parts. We really want to emphasize that if possible, that your A to Z guide should really be online on a web page, not something that is like a downloaded PDF. When we think about accessibility, and again, accessibility is really just how can we make our information more accessible to everyone in the public, recognizing that plain language, speaking simply goes a long way with the general public, easily navigatable websites, work well for the public. And so your A to Z guide should be easily found on your website within 2 clicks or fewer from the homepage. I do believe a lot of you meet that standard already, but things can really get lost in that 2 clicks. And so if it can be prominently placed somewhere on your web page, the link to your A to Z guide, that ultimately is best. And the A to Z guide will still need to contain all of the information that you're used to with landfill banned items, but we have updated the A to Z guide requirement document to just sort of add some keywords. you know, specifically with batteries, there's some language that should be included in the A to Z guide, to, you know, not just say batteries, but all single use and rechargeable. And then I'm forgetting the exact language of like the 2,500 lithium, you know, the pound, whatever it is, but we have those details listed currently in the A to Z guide requirement, updated document that is on the webpage that I linked. And again, we'll follow up in an email with that directly as well. Each entry must contain contact information for the site that actually collects these materials, or a link to a web page that has contact information. And so if that means that the contact information is on the homepage of the website, that can be referenced, but people should be able to read the A to Z guide, know that a material is banned from the landfill, how to contact that location, where to dispose of that material. And, you know, for some things with EPR programs, you can link to locator tools that are provided by Call to Recycle and Paint Care. So hopefully this won't be too much editing, and that a lot of this information is already present on the A to Z guide. And including that, you know, items that are special recycling are not collected with mixed recycling, curbside, blue bin, however your district or management entity phrases that. Next slide. And so here is, yes, just a little, you know, clip of the updated requirements for 2025. Again, the document is under the SWME outreach resources on the web page that I linked in the chat, and I'll follow up in an email about that as well. You want to go to the next slide? So one place that we really want some attention to be made to, we realize that, you know, really this requirement was there all along, but sort of got muddied and really wasn't necessarily checked up on. That hauler lists for your region should contain the name of the hauler, contact information, and what services they provide. And so for some of you, you may have to update that, getting information about, do you actually offer food scrap collection? Obviously all trash haulers should be offering recycling, except for in the NEK. And then waste reduction and event resources. We do still require that you maintain a web page that encourages waste reduction at events, letting your communities know that your SWME is a resource, that whether or not you have bins on loan, or you can provide them with information of haulers to contact. And we also are currently creating a waste management at events guide, and so that will be created into a web page, which can also be linked from your SWME web pages. Next. And so with the reporting, we really did try to make it a little bit easier. With year one, we're really just looking for those links to the SWIP, the updated A to Z guide, the hauler list, and the waste reduction for event resources webpage. And then years 2 through 5, it will really just be any significant updates to the website. You know, we recognize that it's not often that things change, but if something does change, certainly that's the opportunity to let us know. Slide. And so digital outreach, you know, in comparison to a website, which obviously we think of as a digital platform, and it is, SWMEs also must conduct outreach on at least 2 additional type of digital platforms. So this is separate from the website. You know, we will be assisting in creating content like basic messaging. You know, we certainly have language from previous campaigns about waste reduction, HHW, and so we'll be able to assist with this, but all of you already have so much of your own messaging that we hope this isn't a big lift. But essentially on 2 different platforms, whether it's Front Porch Forum, Facebook, Instagram, I'm trying to think of like other like newsletters, you would need to do on 2 platforms, 2 outreach topics per year. And so it's essentially, I believe it comes out to 8 per year digital. And really, so many of you do this anyways, again, through social media. It's really just focusing on the A to Z guide and disposal bans, waste reduction and diversion, HHW, EPR programs. And so if you use Front Porch Forum, even, post once a month to your communities, if you make sure to do those topics in rotation, then you've covered this. Next slide. And so with the SWIP reporting, we'll really just be asking for what outreach, what platforms did you use? And, I guess I should say all the 2 platforms used for each topic, rather than 3. So apologize for that typo. But again, I mean, this I feel like it's just giving you credit to things that you already are doing. And so it's just sort of remembering in a narrative, this is what we posted on, here's where we posted. So next slide. And then, of course, we still want to reach people in our community that don't really do much digital stuff and are more into print outreach. But this isn't as often, it is just an annual requirement. And so for year 1, which would be this year, issuing 1 press release about their SWIP, letting the community know that the SWIP was approved and is now active. Maybe this could also be in the same press release where your HHW event calendar for the year. Lots of different topics. But it should, I'm sorry, advertisements and press releases announcing the grant receipt do not count towards this. And so I apologize, I did forget that. So years 2 through 5, again, 1 printed outreach, focusing on the main MMP goals. And press releases, if you need assistance with that, we can definitely work on that. But if anyone has any questions about this, I mean, each year you are usually doing that press release where you announce the funding that's provided from the SWIP grant. And so that would count for this requirement as well. And I'm sorry, press releases do not count. So I'm obviously a little unclear on this one as well. We're only in year 1.
That grant announcing a grant is already required as part of the grant. Yes. So it doesn't count for here. But it's just literally any topic. So year 1 has to be about the SWIP, but in other years it could be any topic at all. But yeah, if you receive a grant, then that's a separate requirement as part of the grant. And simply announcing the HHW events is also already required. So that doesn't count as well.
Thank you for
it could be combined. It could be HHW events and something else, in which case I would say it counts. Sorry.
And so the message can be within 1 press release. And so, yes, that can be noted. You could have a general press release about, what your SWME is offering. But yes, because your HHW, the SWIP grant requires that grant be advertised, it does not count for this. Gig, do you have a question?
Yes. Does print outreach always mean the newspaper? Like, can it be a page in the town report or a box in the newsletter or what?
I saw Alyssa. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And so your town report is a great place to get that information out to the community. I will say, when we say press release for the first year, that does mean a newspaper or a media outlet. But the printed outreach in years 2 through 5 does not need to be specifically a press release, but you do need to release a press release this year about the SWIP.
This can also be a good opportunity to reach out to a local reporter if you have a relationship, or to start to build a relationship, and then just every year be like, hey, this is what's going on. You want to write an article? Doesn't have to be a press release.
And so, yes, just for the reporting in the year one, providing a copy of the press release, that would be something that you can upload with your SWIP report. And then again, we say here, years 2 through 5, provide a copy of, it should say print outreach along with the topic and date. And I believe I saw another hand up. Maybe I did not.
Yeah, I don't see one now.
Okay, next slide.
Okay. So as Shannon has noticed, I did cut out some of the words to make it shorter on the slide. So your actual SWIP has the full language for all of these. The slides are sometimes abbreviated versions just to make them less wordy. Okay, so this is another new requirement, but we're hoping that it's also kind of giving you credit for something that you're already doing. Or if you're not, then encouraging you to do it, which is just making solid connections with your communities. Obviously, if you're one town, then yes, the connections are probably solidly there, and no, you don't need to reach out to yourself. Would Front Porch Forum count toward a press release? That's a good question. It's digital, not print.
Yeah, that would count under the digital outreach.
Right, it would count under the digital. Would you agree, Anne, that for announcing the SWIP needs to be traditional media? It doesn't mean someone needs to pick it up. Like, yeah, it's that you're putting it out there. Because obviously you don't have control over whether media outlets actually run your story.
It'd be great if you talked about the SWIP on Front Porch Forum. We're not saying don't do that, but in addition.
Okay, so again, this has two parts. So the first is within the whole SWIP term. So within all 5 years, to conduct an in-person visit to each solid waste facility that is included in your SWIP. So transfer stations, if there's permanent compost facilities. So you, at this point, you're all like, you know which these facilities are. And again, probably many of you are doing in-person visits in the first place already. But again, if you're not, we're just encouraging those relationships. So it would be right that you reach all of them within the 5 years. And then the second piece is annual, but it doesn't need to be in person. So annually, every year, reach out to every municipality in your swimming region. So right, it might be, I guess, 0 if you're an independent town. It might be a lot if you're a big district. And also reach out to all of the public libraries within your region. But this outreach may be conducted in person or on the phone or via email. Or obviously it could be a mix. Maybe you go to 3 libraries in person and you just call the rest, or you just send the rest an email. That can be up to you. But the goal really is just, again, to foster these relationships. So if you've never talked to a librarian before, then maybe you're just saying who you are and what your role is in the community. And maybe, who knows, maybe something might develop, or maybe there's handouts that the library could have that they don't already, or again, or maybe these relationships already exist. This is just kind of trying to encourage these relationships if they don't already exist and create a level of consistency across the whole state. And then for the town offices, in addition to just the introduction or updates as relevant, you'll be wanting to touch base with them about the disaster debris plan, which we'll talk about later, and we'll have an entire separate training on. So maybe go to the next slide, Anne. All right, so here in the SWIP reporting for the transfer station visits, you're going to be just saying which ones you did in a given year and when, and then I guess sort of keep track to make sure that you're reaching all of them within the 5 years. And then for the town offices and libraries, again, it's just a list, and it could be Excel if you're a big district, if that's easier, or if you're small, it could just be in the Word box and retrack and how you visited them and when. So again, hopefully this shouldn't be too big of a lift, even though it's a new requirement. All right, yes.
Guys, it's Chris. So school outreach is our next topic. It talks about the number of schools that you have to reach a year, 2 or 10% of your jurisdiction. So that's pretty much the same. I think it's been for quite some time. The outreach must focus on the following: pretty straightforward: disposal ban, recycling, food scraps, reduce food waste, hazardous waste, and EPR projects and programs. One thing here is it's not just teaching kids, right? Though we totally love and support that, it's working more with administrators, janitors, custodians, and the like. I also wanted to point out the outreach spreadsheet, which has been updated for the 2024 MMP. It's on that link that Shannon put out, and it's number 4 for SWIMI outreach resources. You don't have to use that, but again, it's makes it easier if everyone does use the same tracking tool. Next one. Oh, sorry, I think I jumped ahead a little bit there too. Again, just in terms of how you conduct your outreach, you can use phone calls, video calls, emails. If you cannot get to the school, just let us know. And I think I covered those already, so sorry for jumping ahead a little bit there. Next slide on business outreach or SWIP reporting. So again, the document, we talked about the outreach tracking sheet. If you have something else that you use, feel free to do that. Always looking for success stories. So that would be great that you can share with us. And just looking for some details so we can keep track of what schools have been contacted. Next slide. Business outreach is very similar, 15 businesses or 2% of your jurisdiction, whichever is greater. I know that's a challenge in some of the districts. So we're happy to work with you on that and what makes sense. There's the Department of Labor database that you can look at to figure out who is in your jurisdiction. I also want to make sure that reaching out to the town clerk's office does not count. For this, it has to be businesses versus municipal entities. And I see Alyssa is saying the only difference is now it's 15 instead of 20. So we bumped that down a little bit. Outreach should also include very similar things that we talked about for schools and are listed below. Next slide. Again, your tracking spreadsheet, if you want to use that, that would be great. And one thing that I really would like to stress is if there's businesses that are not in compliance, please reach out to us and we'd like to follow up on those. And a personal thanks to the folks who have been working with me on compliance as a newbie. It's been really helpful. I think that's it. Next slide. Same,
Just the reporting. Yeah.
Just the reporting through retrack. And then
here's a picture.
Oh, thanks. Nicely color coded.
Yeah. And I'll just say, you know, previously, I feel like a lot of people were using the reporting spreadsheet. Well, we just wanted to clarify that ultimately, in order to consider business outreach complete, you should be able to report whether or not they are recycling and composting, and then confirm that you discussed, you know, the variety of topics like reducing waste overall, reducing food. I don't know why the things are coming out looking weird. I'll make sure they don't look weird like that. But because ultimately you should be able to walk away and know if they are recycling and composting. And when you say yes or no in those columns, it doesn't just mean that you talk to them about it. Sometimes we felt like maybe there's a little bit of confusion. And so it's really confirming their status of diversion in the blue columns and the orange columns, just confirming that you talk to them about all of that variety of special recycling materials, and then waste reduction, food donation.
So the next one is variable rate pricing, and this is something that you've talked about in your SWIP. So it really doesn't, the annual reporting doesn't require very much of you, but basically you just have to ensure that waste is being charged by either by weight or by volume. And you can either have your own licensing or registration program, and you can also look, we have a template, which is on the SWIMMY planning resources too. So year 1, just explain the method you're using, and then years 2 to 5, if you don't have any changes, you can just let us know that. And just one thing, like if you do have new haulers coming in to your area, just make sure that they know about variable rate pricing and they have to charge by weight or by volume. So the next one is the HHW collection, events and facilities, and this is basically the same as well. So if you have a permanent facility, you have to have certain hours between May and, God, there's so many words on this slide, between May and October, need to be open at least 1 day a week. And then you're lucky if you have a permanent facility, then you don't have to have or make sure that then a collection event is within 20 road miles, because the added accessibility of having a permanent facility negates that requirement. But if you're still doing 2 waste collection events, you have to have one in the spring and one in the fall, and they have to be open for a minimum of 4 hours. And then you also have the 20 road mile requirement. So each town in your SWIMMY district or SWIMMY region must have access to an event within 20 road miles of that town. And you can provide additional events if you'd like, but you need to meet that 20 road mile requirement for every town. So that's when you'll have to do an additional one, but the minimum is 2. And then we encourage you to share events if there is another SWIMMY close to you and it makes sense to, oh, I'm hearing an echo, to share costs, that's great. So the reporting, you have to let us know the address and the operating schedule, make sure it meets those requirements in the previous slide. And then we need to have some data. So in ReTrack, you'll be reporting number of participants, participation rate, and how much you collected. So Shannon, I think this is you.
Yeah, and so collection of landfill ban, disposal ban, and dangerous items. This isn't necessarily different from the previous SWIP either. Although I do believe, we did update it to reflect. Actually, no, I lied, because gas cylinders was always in there. And so this has not changed. You need to demonstrate that there's a year-round collection option that exists in your region, which is either within the SWIMMY boundary or within 20 miles of an independent town for products like mercury-containing lamps, thermostats, gas cylinders, and all the EPR programs as well. And these can be privately or publicly owned, but it should be noted that if the site that you select as being the option, the year-round option for one of these materials closes, and the SWIMMY does need to ensure that there is another collection, and if that means providing that collection for its region. And these collection locations must be open at least 1 weekday and 1 weekend per week. I'm about to say per year, but got caught up in that. Yeah, and so very similar to the previous SWIP. And you just need to confirm that that requirement is met, and describe any changes that happened from the previous year. Again, you have a lot of this information in your A to Z guide, at least you should. And so you really just need to confirm that this requirement is being met, but not list any of those collection requirements within the SWIP reporting. Yes, Theron? Oh, now you're on mute.
Thank you. Just to go back one slide to the requirement to have all the locations open one weekday, one weekend day. So if a location is only open during the week, should we not list it? Or should we
That would
list
not-
it and just say it's not open on Saturdays, but there's other places?
Yeah, and so you actually, and so in the SWIP reporting, you don't need to list it. In your A to Z guide, you should definitely highlight one location that's open one weekday and one weekend. Yes, because that is the convenience standard that's required for these specific materials.
Okay. And to follow up on that, with haz waste landfill ban coming into effect in July, that won't affect our facilities that accept hazardous waste because that's a separate situation, correct?
Yes, it's just as you see here, yeah, it's just the gas cylinders as defined in Vermont's HHW EPR law. We did not include, because the HHW collection has its own requirements, its own system that is not year-round. Collection is not required year-round for HHW items.
Okay, thanks.
Theron, I was just going to add one thing. If you have a location that's open only a weekday and not a weekend, I mean, I would err on the side of adding them all to your A to Z guide, just to add convenience for people. But that wouldn't necessarily meet the requirement. But as long as you had one open for a weekday, that does. Just
Thanks.
to
Yeah,
get to the weeds.
yeah, I guess I was a little bit more thinking about if a place that typically did collect those things on a Saturday was the only place that was regularly open on a Saturday, and then there's a requirement to provide that collection option, that would mean that our facility would have to be open every weekend too. Which would be a big change.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you just need to be able to point to one collection location in your region or within the 20 miles of an independent town that is open at least those 2 days a week.
Okay, great.
If we already went over that.
All right, disaster debris plan. This is another one that looks really dense, but like I said, we're going to have a whole separate training on this next month on February 5th. And so that will include, in addition to our staff, we'll have certification staff and other solid waste program people and someone from Vermont Emergency Management. So hopefully we'll really be able to answer all of your questions then. But very briefly, it is a new requirement, of course. This comes out after having gone through multiple floods, and we're like, all right, we need to have a little bit more of intentional pre-planning so that we can hopefully be better prepared the next time a big statewide disaster strikes. So by the end of year one, so it means this year, this is going to be one of your sort of big projects, is to submit a disaster debris plan using our template. It's hopefully just a really simple Excel-based template that hopefully will be pretty easy to use. And it has 4 main parts. So first is the municipal disaster debris contacts. And this is one for every municipality. I guess to take a step backwards. So this plan is for you and for us. It's not a plan for the municipalities. It's so that you and we sort of know what the infrastructure, like who to contact in the towns and where things might be able to be managed if a disaster happens in a particular town within your region. But it's not a town plan. So it's one plan per SWIMI. But one contact per municipality so that, if a disaster happens here, you know who to reach out to. If it happens there, you know who to reach out to. And we know who to reach out to. And so it might be your local emergency management directors, or it might be someone else. The second piece is these disaster hazardous material staging areas. And so we recommend that this is one per municipality, but at a minimum, it's one per swimming region. So it'll sort of be up to you to determine like how many make sense for your region. So again, working with the town. So these must be on publicly owned land, but otherwise the really key piece is that it's just a, outside of a floodplain. It's a safe area that's big enough for HHW materials to temporarily be stored so that they could then be managed properly. The third piece is trash and C&D disaster debris management. So this is really just a list of any facilities or haulers that might be able to be used if a disaster were to occur and there were to be debris that needed to be managed. And then the last piece, so this is the clean wood and vegetative or inert debris management sites or stump dumps, categorical disposal facilities. If you already have one in your SWME, then you can include it in your plan in this year. But if you do not currently have a certified categorical disposal facility, then you have until year 4 to get one cited and certified. So you might resubmit the plan in year 4, or you might not. And again, we're requiring one per SWME with the encouragement of one per municipality. And this is just so that, again, if there's another big flood or similar disaster, that there's a place to put all of this woody inert debris. And again, part of the reason why we're having these things structured the way we are is to hopefully facilitate FEMA reimbursement. Like, we don't have control over those decisions, but we do know that FEMA will only reimburse for material that is put into certified facilities on publicly owned sites, et cetera. So that's sort of like why these requirements are set up the way that they are. And if you have any basic question right now, happy to answer it. But like I said, otherwise, we'll go into this in greater detail next month. And we have not created, it's just going to be an attachment in ReTrack. So yes, so you will just attach the template to your SWIP report in ReTrack in year 1, and then again in year 4 if you have an update. And then these were technically 2 different pieces of the SWIP, but this is really just saying that, again, you need to have the categorical disposal facility by the end of year 4 if you don't already. I think I already covered all of that. Yeah, so by year 4. Man.
Okay, and just moving on, because I just noticed we have about 5 more minutes, but we're almost done.
2 left.
Collection of textiles. So this is the same as the previous MMP. You need to ensure that there's at least one location within your region. And then if that location closes or stops collecting, then you're responsible for providing another collection option. And that could be just setting up a big swap within your town. I have a feeling, I may be wrong, that Shannon did one once up in the NEK. And maybe some of you have already done something like that within your region, but that could be a nice community builder too. And again, we're encouraging sharing within regions. So if Apparel Impact or someone wants to come in and you need a site, maybe talk to them about citing it somewhere that could be shared with another town or region. So then you're reporting, just confirm that you do have textile collection available. And again, this is something that you'll be putting in your A to Z guide as well. And then if anything has changed over the past year, we'd like to know that too. And then I think the very last one is the residuals recycling meetings. And we say here, attend the annual virtual meeting. I have a feeling that these are not going to be annual, but we kind of wrote it this way so that if the residual staff decides that nothing's really changed in the past year, then we're not going to make you attend a training for no reason. So stay tuned for this. We'll be in touch when the training is happening, and I think that's it. Confirm attendance is possible. Oh, so any questions before we just review the next upcoming trainings? Looks like Theron.
Sorry, I'm hogging all the air.
That's okay.
It's not so much a question, but as far as like the textiles and this is not limited to just textiles, but there's really only one game in town as far as textiles collection. Only slightly concerned that if they are not able to make it work, and that still becomes a requirement of us, what the next steps for that might look like. But I guess we can burn that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, that is something that I've been interested in, and Chris has actually, and Shannon, we've all kind of got an interest in that area. So we'll be keeping track of what's going on. And if you hear of any, I keep looking over here because you guys are all over here. If you hear of any new players coming in, please let us know. So then we still don't have a date yet for our A to Z guide, but that's coming. Although maybe we do we? No.
That's just a guidance document, which Shannon put on the webpage.
Oh, it's already on the website. Okay. I just copied and pasted this from our internal document. So the disaster debris plan training is February 5th. We've got a date for that. Accessibility, as Alyssa said, is coming as soon as we track down Stephanie Bracken. Business outreach and school outreach will be in the spring. So just as you're gearing up to get out and about in your communities. And then we hope to have some kind of in-person event, something fun, and once the weather's warm, hearkening back to the days when we all used to meet in person and have potlucks. And so hopefully we'll organize something like that, in conjunction with the recycling coordinators meeting, probably. And then residuals, stay tuned for when that's going to happen. And then I think, Alyssa, are you doing some kind of diversion rate? Training sometime in the fall. So that's it. So hopefully we answered questions. And again, we're always available if something comes up while you're actually doing the work. And it looks like Alex has a question.
Hey, thanks, Anne. Just one more follow-up on the textiles. With the exception of apparel impact aside, do in-district donations, are those equally applicable? Does that count for textile diversion, right? If it goes to a thrift store?
Yeah.
For reuse?
Yeah. Like Goodwill or Salvation Army.
So even if, right, I don't even want to say it out loud, knock on wood, that like apparel impact may, change operations one day, that then our thrift stores in state still count towards that textile diversion? That's the question.
I haven't thought about it in that particular way. It's like we don't want to inundate the thrift stores if, by any chance, those pull out. Or the apparel impact and the bigger ones don't provide a service anymore. So I think that would meet the spirit of the MMP though. But hopefully we won't.
Local thrift stores absolutely count. They always have.
Yeah.
It's just having an option for donation, and collection of like non-wearable textiles is encouraged, but that's not required. They're not landfill banned. Obviously, if they were landfill banned, then that would be a different situation. But
that's a great clarification. Thank you.
Any other questions? If there's anything in the chat. Well, thanks again, everyone, for coming, and hope you have a great new year, and get to work. We got a lot to do.
Thanks for
Take
helping
care.
us.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.